Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in Hollywood, California. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and privilege to have you guys joining me here today. And I am joined here today by a guy who wouldn't have missed that pass interference call had he been a referee, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing?
John, you know, I was wondering today if we'd have anything movie-related to talk about.
I can't imagine. I think it's a fairly slow movie news day. And,
Tuesday.
But hey, it can be slow, but at least we got Ashley Whalen here. Ashley, how you doing?
I'm great. Your introductions just give me life, you guys. I just love it.
Okay, well, listen, guys, we do actually have some things to talk about, and we're going to go off the top with this. This morning became official. The Academy Awards have announced their lineup for the 2019 honors, listing all the various different categories. Gotta say, not really any surprises. A couple of small surprises. But nothing like, wait. Now, I will say this again. For the second year in a row, my favorite film of the year did not get nominated for Best Picture. For the second year in a row. Logan did not get nominated, which I was not surprised about. And A Quiet Place did not get nominated, which, again, I'm not surprised about. Like, I could see, starting about a month ago, you could see that that's the direction things were going. A Quiet Place, which I still believe was the best film of the year, did not get nominated. And whatever, I knew that was coming, so no big, huge surprise. So no real major surprises, but a couple of little things, Rob. So we're gonna go through not every single one of the 21 categories. We're gonna go through a bunch of the categories here. I want to collect some thoughts on that. So why don't we start off here with the big one, of course. We're going to start off with Best Picture. Now, of course, we now live in an era where anywhere between 5 and 10 films can be nominated for Best Picture, depending on how the voting breaks down. This year, it ended up being 8. 8 films nominated for Best Picture. And those 8 films are Black Panther, which I told you the other day, I said a 100% guarantee Black Panther's getting a Best Picture
nomination. And you're right,
nomination.
it's the first time a comic book related film has been nominated.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, a little bit of a surprise to me. Bohemian Rhapsody got in there. The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born, and Vice. Now, not surprising, the 3 ones we said were going to be the lead horses going in here, Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born. They get nominated. And look, I got to say, for the most part, look, no list is anybody ever going to 100% agree with. For the most part, I like this list, although I will say there are probably 3 films on here that I would go, maybe shouldn't be on. The first one for me, and I know this is going to be popular, is Vice. I thought Vice was good. I didn't think it was great. You know what I mean?
I have to agree with you. I was obsessed. I still am obsessed with The Big Short.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've watched The Big Short like 25 times. My girlfriend always, she'll wake up sometimes at 3 in the morning. I'm watching The Big Short again. She's like, what is it with you in that film? And I thought Vice was a little sophomoric, frankly. I thought some of the things they did were really sort of brought down the level of the film, and I was disappointed by it.
You know what I felt walking out of it? I think for a movie with such volatile subject matter, played it really safe. I felt like the performances in it, forget about. The
great.
Performances were remarkable, but I thought it played a little bit safe, and I thought it was good, but I didn't think it deserved a Best Picture nomination. I'm not going to complain too bad that it's on there, but whatever. Then there are a couple of films that I think are great, but not quite on there. The first one is Bohemian Rhapsody. And by the way, just in case any of you don't realize how much I love this movie, this is what I tweeted the moment I walked out. Because remember, it wasn't getting a lot of critical love at first. And I came out of Bohemian Rhapsody and I wrote, I don't know what everybody else is talking about or watched, but I thought Bohemian Rhapsody was fantastic. I loved watching Bohemian Rhapsody. I thought that was such an engaging, fun movie to see. I had a really good time with it. I know you appreciated the movie as well.
Look, I walked out of that movie walking on airs. It inspired me. It elicited a tremendous emotional response in me. And I was surprised by how uplifting the film actually turned out to be. And the audience I saw it with felt the same way. And that's rare.
Yeah, it is rare
to be able to do that.
So I loved it, but even though I loved a number of films this year, I don't know. I would not have put it on the Best Picture nominee list. The other one is Black Panther. Now, obviously, I love Black Panther. Talking about tweets I wrote coming out of these movies. This is what I wrote coming out of Black Panther. Black Panther, incredible real world building with Wakanda. Great mythology building around the Black Panther. Solid character development, top-notch action, great narrative, wonderful villain, rare for Marvel. Although they are getting better at that. Killer soundtrack, my favorite MCU movie since Civil War at the time. I love Black Panther. I thought it was great. But I still to this day do not feel it deserves a Best Picture. Now, I knew 100% for sure it was going to get nominated, but I still don't feel. As a matter of fact, here's the funny thing. Black Panther, which we will talk more about this in just a second, is the first comic book movie ever to be nominated for Best Picture. So we'll go into the significance of that in a second. But when you ask the average movie-going audience, Black Panther wasn't even the best movie of its genre this year.
Right.
Just for kicks, I put up a new poll this morning to ask this question again. And I asked everybody, this was only about an hour and a half ago that I put this up. In about an hour and a half, 4,400 of you responded. And I simply asked, what was the best comic book movie of 2018? Twitter only allows 4 options, so I'm including what I think will be the 4 most popular. 53% of the respondents said Avengers Infinity War, more than all the other ones combined. Next was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, 33%. I happen to fall in that. I think that was the best comic, but I love them all. Only 7% thought Black Panther was the best comic book movie of the year, equal to the same amount of people who thought Aquaman was best picture of the year at 7%. So this is the one thing that has confused me about this a little bit, is that while I love Black Panther, clearly, you saw my reaction to it. Again, the argument, it's not even the best of its genre. It's not even the second best of its genre this year. It's like the third best comic book movie of the year, which says something about the state of comic book movies right now. When you get a movie as good as Black Panther, and you say it's the third best comic book movie of the year, I mean, depending on who you are, that says something about the state of these things. But before we talk about the significance of Black Panther and being that first comic book movie to win a nomination for Best Picture, you look at that list, anything standing out to you as a glaring omission? Anything standing out to you as maybe something you wouldn't have on that list?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was great. It's really interesting because there's a lot of news about African-American filmmakers coming out of these nominations. Spike Lee, Best Picture.
Oh, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, and for Black Klansman, and Black Panther has the first female African-American production designer to be nominated for an Academy Award. And there's a lot of, I think it was Amber Tamblyn who was tweeting out that there's no females in the top categories like directing. But there are women and people of color getting awards this year that have never received them before.
Yeah, and Black Panther, by the way, it did very strong this year in a lot of the technical categories, which is good to see. Let's talk for a second now about the seal being broken. A comic book movie, ladies and gentlemen, whether it's the right one or not the right one.
I was thinking I had too many beers.
A comic book movie has been nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Some people will make an argument that maybe The Dark Knight should have been the first one.
Right.
Now, that was back in an era when there were still only 5 nominees. I will argue till I'm blue in the face that Logan should have been nominated. It was the best movie of 2017. Should have been, but anyway, it wasn't even nominated. But that's fine, whatever, it wasn't. But it's happened now, Robert. We now live in an age where the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Sciences has recognized a comic book movie, whether it was the right one or not, to be as one of the nominees for Best Picture. Mm-hmm. The significance of this, Robert, for this still growing genre.
It's amazing. I mean, and it's about time. Richly deserved. And I think, Black Panther means so much to so many people for so many different reasons. Mm-hmm. But to see the genre legitimized, especially in a time when there's so many people talking about, the comic book movie. I mean, I still see some highbrow critics that won't allow.
Minority now, though.
No, it's true.
They're the minority
it's true
now.
Because, but I think, I don't know if Pauline Kael, the great Pauline Kael, one of the great film critics of all time, would approve.
Yeah, but you look at, you run to Rotten Tomatoes now, right? Which is just a measurement of what the critics say.
Sure.
It is now year in, year out. some of the highest critically rated movies of the year now are generally comic book movies.
Yeah.
That's a real sign of the change in
No,
the
it
age.
is, and I think the prejudice there was a prejudice against comic books as a medium.
Yes,
for
there
so
was.
long.
Yes, there was.
And
yeah.
especially in this country, not so much in Asian countries or in Europe. I mean, comic books have been considered an art form for a while, but really in the 80s it started to change with things like The Watchmen and Frank Miller's Ronin and The Dark Knight Returns, and it's changed, and Art Spiegelman's Mouse. But now we're in a world where Logan, I thought, The Dark Knight and Logan I would hold up as two examples of films that completely transcend their genre.
Yes.
But Black Panther, what's great about Black Panther is it doesn't transcend the comic book genre. It is an unabashed comic book adaptation.
Yes.
And that's what's great about it. It wasn't like a movie trying to pretend it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that's
it wasn't trying to be a political thriller like a Winter Soldier was.
Right.
It was a straight down the pipe, a comic book movie with
it
excellence.
was absolutely, and that's what's great about this nomination.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk more about this on the Weekly Hero.
Oh,
this,
yeah,
this
absolutely.
is, I mean, a comic book movie gets a nomination for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that people and fans of the genre have been waiting for, clamoring for, and it's happened.
Yep.
And regardless of whether you thought that spot should have gone to Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse or maybe an Avengers Infinity War or maybe Aquaman, regardless of that, the fact of the matter is, as comic book movie fans,
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a great, in a positive way, a strike for validation
Absolutely.
of the genre and kind of a symbol of the growth of the genre. It's not just that it's growing in acceptance. This is a genre that has been maturing and growing.
Absolutely.
These movies have been getting better and better and better, and they just keep climbing on the shoulders of the films that come before them, which is exactly what should happen. And I think this is a great day for comic book movie fans for sure.
Absolutely.
Now, an interesting thing, Jonathan, let's bring up that list again of the Best Picture nominees. Here's an interesting thing, Robert. Two of the three films that I think were the lead horses for Best Picture, Green Book and A Star is Born. Here's an interesting little thing for you. Keep those films in mind as we move on to the Best Director category. Nominated for Best Director are Spike Lee. To me, it's no question Spike Lee was the Best Director of the year. I have that. Black Klansman was all about direction. How he handled that movie, brilliant. But still, you got Powell for Cold War, Yorgos for The Favorite, Alfonso for Roma, Adam for Vice. I want to point out something very interesting about this list. Two of what I thought were the three frontrunners, Green Book and A Star is Born, not nominated for Best Director.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. But I have to say that Paul Pawlikowski for Cold War. Cold War is an exquisite.
Yeah, it's a wonderful film.
And it was really great. Look, I'm sorry that he replaced probably Bradley Cooper. He took Bradley Cooper's spot, but
or the Green Book director's spot.
Well, Peter Farrelly's had that little controversy lately.
Doesn't matter. I mean,
I know, it's true. It's like my favorite thing in any special features documentary is on the documentary for Maniac. The Joe Spinell Maniac.
Yeah.
Joe Spinell was there when Steven Spielberg was watching the nominations for the Academy Awards in 76, when Jaws didn't get a Best Director nomination for Jaws, and Joe Spinell was like, "What? Your mother direct that movie?" and it's like I've always felt that way when something gets a Best Picture nod. I mean, I know there's only 5 choices and there's more films,
and there's 9 films.
Somebody's always going to get snubbed, but still,
okay. It's only been that way for 8 or 9 years now that they've had more than 5 nominees. Ashley, I'm going to throw this to you first, then I'm going to throw it to you, Robert. In the 573 years that the Academy has been around, what are we going on? The 70-something, the 80s? I can't even remember which Academy Awards are at right now. It's a big number. How many times has a movie won Best Picture where its director was not nominated for Best Director?
Ooh.
Take a wild guess. The number of times a movie has won Best Picture without its director being nominated. It's happened. Take a guess how many times out of the 80 years of the Academy Awards.
Maybe like 8 times.
Okay, you're going to go 8.
Once.
It has happened only 4 times.
Dang.
Of course, most notably and most recently, Ben Affleck for Argo. Argo won Best Picture. Ben Affleck, who won the Directors Guild of America Award for Best Director, but did not get nominated for Best Director of the Year. And the other 3
What,
times...
his mother directed?
Yeah, the other 3 times, they were like films from the 1920s and 1930s and stuff like
Right.
that. What does this tell us? Pack your bags, Green Book, and A Star is Born. you ain't winning Best Picture. I mean, it's possible, but the odds are so astronomically against it, and that's why. Considering I thought the three big lead horses, Roma, Green Book, Star is Born, these are our big contenders for Best Picture. When I looked at that Best Director list, I'm not totally surprised to not see Bradley Cooper, because as much as I love A Star is Born, I thought you could see some first-time director mistakes, and that's fine. I was shocked not to see Green Book on that list. And to me, that says this. Send it to the bank. Roma is going to win your Best Picture of the Year. I don't see Black Klansman beating it. I don't see Bohemian Rhapsody beating it. By the way, Bohemian Rhapsody also not nominated for Best Director. It ain't going to be Black Panther. Ryan Coogler not nominated for Best Director. What does that leave you with? It's Roma. To me, going into I have never felt, now watch, it's not going to win, but I have never felt has been a more 100% lock, take it to the bank, Best Picture winner ever in history than now Roma. Because the two movies that I thought would maybe beat it didn't get nominated for Best Director, and that's something that's only happened 4 times in history. I cannot see anything beating Roma at this point.
I would agree with you. I think Roma's pretty much a lock. However, Spike Lee has never received from the Academy, I think, the love he deserves as a filmmaker. He has constantly, over the past 3 decades and more, look, Do the Right Thing to me is one of the great American movies of the last 40 years. And
I love Jungle Fever.
Jungle Fever's great. I like Mo Better Blues. Yeah. And there's he has captured sort of a cultural zeitgeist, and yet he's been combative. I mean, I think people.
Oh, sure.
But to see him get nominated for Best Director and to get a Best Picture nod is pretty significant.
And I'll tell you what, I'm not even the biggest Spike Lee fan in the world. I quite honestly, I'm not. And what he did with Black Klansman, because the balance of the heaviness of it, because the heaviness of Black Klansman is a weight that could crush you as an audience.
Yeah.
But he peppers in and paces out levity and humor. But before you start thinking it's a comedy, the awfulness comes back in, and then the levity again. And the way he balances this film out, to me, was remarkable. And I've been talking about it ever since I saw the film. So to me, he's my pick for Best Director. All right, let's just go quickly now through some of because not a lot of surprises in these other categories here. So let's move on. Best Actor, no surprises here. Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for Star is Born, Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gates, Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, Viggo Mortensen for Green Book. I've got my money on Viggo Mortensen probably winning. The only slight surprise is I thought maybe we would have seen Handsome Hawk, Ethan Hawke in there.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
For First Reformed. I thought there was a possibility for that. I also thought there was an outside possibility maybe for Joaquin Phoenix for You Were Never Really Here. But in large, this is a great list. Which one do you think will
you
win?
know what? I got to say, I think Christian Bale has got a lock on this one.
Really?
I do. I think Christian Bale's probably going to take it.
This is a close one. I mean, I think Malik's got a lot of heat behind him right now. Bale's got a lot of heat. Viggo's got a lot of heat with the Green Book. This is going to be no, I don't think there's any lock in this one. All right. Next one. Best Actress. Again, no real surprises here. Yelitsa, I never pronounced her name right. Aparicio. See, I'm terrible with names.
Aparicio.
For Roman, Glenn Close for The Wife, Olivia Colman for The Favorite, Lady Gaga for A Star is Born, Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me. You know what? I was late to the Can You Ever Forgive Me party.
Oh.
And I thought, when I heard all this awards buzz from Melissa McCarthy months ago, I'm like, come on. Melissa McCarthy can be a great entertainer, but come on. I have no problem with her nomination here. I mean, the only thing that I'm a little bit shocked by is that we didn't see Emily Blunt either for A Quiet Place or Mary Poppins. That is a surprise to me. Glenn Close taking that spot is a little bit of a surprise to me.
But those, Mary Poppins and A Quiet Place are both genre films. And again, like it took a long time for comic book movies to. I think there's a bit of a prejudice in the voting constituency against genre movies. They're seen as not as important. But I do think Melissa McCarthy's Can You Ever Forgive Me nomination is richly deserved. The film is wonderful, and my biggest thing that happened in the whole Academy Awards that delights me has to do with the Best Supporting Actor category for the same film.
Okay, well, by the way, my picks in here, I think it's probably going to be Lady Gaga, but I think it's going to be either Lady Gaga or Yalitza. What do you think?
Yalitza Aparicio. You know what? I think Glenn Close, man. I think it's tough.
Really?
I think this is a tough category.
I think it's Olivia Colman. I don't know.
Olivia Colman's got a lot of heat behind her right now too.
Yeah, I think this category is completely up in the air.
And by the way, but we're gonna get to, you know what? I'll save that for when we get to that category. I got something else to mention here. Okay, let's move on to Best Supporting Actor: Mahershala Ali, Adam Driver for Black Klansman, Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, Sam Rockwell for Vice. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the most stacked category of the Oscars this year. I run down this list, and I'm thinking, first, my early pick was Sam Elliott. When I did the John Campea Awards, the coveted filthies, I gave the award to actually Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born. But then you think, well, how do you not give it to Mahershala Ali for Green Book? And then you think, well, how do you not give it to Adam Driver? How do you not give it to Sam Rockwell? This is a stacked category this year. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to guess Sam Elliott takes it.
Okay. First of all, you didn't even mention my main man, Richard E. Grant. Richard E. Grant is one of my favorite actors of all time. He's one of the great character actors of all time. He starred in one of my favorite movies of all time that Americans don't even know, called With Nail and I, that came out in 1987, one of the greatest comedies ever made. He is on Twitter. Everybody follow Richard E. Grant. Tell him Robert Meyer Burnett sent you, and to tell him how great he is. And I'm pulling for my man, Richard E. Grant, to win this category, even though, as you just said, the odds may not forever be in his favor.
Who do you think wins? That's a tough one, right?
You know, it's a tough one because I loved Sam Rockwell in Vice.
He was great.
And Mahershala Ali, I mean, I don't think there's a more riveting and electrifying actor that's working today in film than him.
I'll tell you what, though.
I don't know.
No matter who they announce as the winner, I'm going to have no problem with it.
Yeah, this is
I'm going to have no problem with it.
Category,
no problem with it at all.
I'm Richard E. Grant. Please
all right,
win.
let's move on to the next category here, which we go into Best Supporting Actress. We got Amy Adams, who's just like, that's just like clockwork. Amy Adams gets nominated for an Academy Award. Amy Adams for Vice. Marina de Tavira for Roma. Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. Emma Stone for The Favorite. Rachel Weisz for The Favorite. I'm going Regina King. Now, granted, I will admit a little bit of bias. I may have had a little bit of a crush on Regina King for most of my adult life, but that is besides the point.
She's a great actress.
She is a remarkable actress, and she's fantastic in this. But can I bring up one thing? Now, was The Favorite nominated for Best Picture?
Yes.
All right. Was Olivia Colman nominated for Best Actress?
Yes.
Do we have two actresses from that movie nominated for Best Supporting Actress?
Why we do.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Robert. Correct me if I'm wrong. The two biggest jobs of a director are to bring the best performances out of the performers that you can and to deliver the best overall movie that you can. Somebody explain to me how you have The Favorite nominated for Best Picture, its lead actress nominated for Best Actress, two of its supporting actresses nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
And the director. Nominated for Best Director.
How is this not getting more heat? How is this not getting more heat right now?
That's a good question. You know, I recently watched the film.
Because I'm as guilty as this as anybody else. When I'm thinking, you know, front runners for the movie and all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking all this kind of stuff. How is this movie not getting more heat? Why are people like me kind of like, we're not even really giving this film a lot of consideration? How do you see this?
You know what? I think it's subject matter. There's a lot going on in the world of British high court intrigue in terms of you've got everything from The Crown,
right?
You know, Downton Abbey really isn't about the kings or queens, but it's I think this genre, whatever you want to call it, aristocratic British dramas, comedies, social, there's a lot of it going on. So I think a lot of people might have missed out on The Favorite thinking, oh, I'll get around to it. It wasn't something because it's a subject matter that is being well traveled throughout pop culture. I was not big on it necessarily, but The Lobster, you know, the director's previous film, he's a great director, totally off the wall. And watching this movie, it was totally different than what I expected. It's hilarious, first of all.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's hilarious.
It's full of comedy and power plays and just the characters in it. I love it.
I mean, it is a hoot It is a really fun time at the movies, and the performances are awesome. But you're right. You know, I don't think that our constituency that are tuning in now were thinking, oh, I'm going to go run out and see The Favorite. But you guys should, because it's great.
All right, let's keep moving on with the categories here. We're going to put a motor in here. Best Animated Feature Film. To me, this is a lock, but Incredibles 2, which, by the way, when I saw Incredibles 2, I'm like, forget everything else. This is the best animated film of the year. So and I think 9 out of 10 years it wins Best Animated Film of the Year. Unfortunately for it happens to come out in the same year as Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. But anyway, Isle of Dogs, which I must admit I didn't even like that much.
Really?
I didn't. And I'm a dog guy. I love dogs. And I didn't even like it all that much. Mirai, Ralph Breaks the Internet, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. To me, it's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Look, I'm not going to complain, obviously, if Incredibles 2 wins, but Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, to me, you know this, I thought it was the third best movie of the year, period. So, yeah, to me, it's that. Do you think anything has a chance of beating it?
No, because it's so innovative, and it does so many things right stylistically, and it's just so much fun. And it really does something new with animation, which is what you want.
All right, let's move on. Next one up. Best Adapted Screenplay, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. We've got Black Klansman, Can You Ever Forgive Me, If Beale Street Could Talk, and A Star Is Born. I don't actually think it has a chance, but I don't know, maybe it does, but I'm leaning towards If Beale Street Could Talk. I love the screenplay for that. To me, it's all character. That movie is all character. And heavy character is difficult to write. I mean, but look, I am... Same like with some of the other guys. I'm going to have no complaints if The Ballad wins. I'm going to have no complaints if Black Klansman wins. No complaints if A Star Is Born wins. But I'm leaning towards Beale Street. What do you think?
That's a tough category.
It is.
I really loved Can You Ever Forgive Me? Black Klansman, again, another nomination for Spike Lee. And The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I mean, the Coen brothers are always this is, again, another really hard category.
Yeah.
This is going to throw off my Oscar ballot, I can tell.
It's a tough one. All right, let's move on to Best Original Screenplay here. Best Original Screenplay, The Favorite. Again, one of the major categories The Favorite's nominated. First Reformed, not getting a lot of love this year, but it did get a screenplay nomination. Green Book, Roma, Vice. This is tough. You got Green Book and Roma in the same category. Look, everybody knows I'm not the biggest fan of Roma, but I think even the biggest fans of Roma will say the overwhelming strength of the film is not necessarily the screenplay.
No.
I got to go. So I'm going to go Green Book on this. What do you think?
I'm going to go The Favorite.
Really?
That
would be an upset, I think.
I'm going to go The Favorite because that script was great. But then again, Paul Schrader, one of our great screenwriters for, the guy wrote Taxi Driver. But I think The Favorite might take it.
I think Vice has maybe a shot.
Really?
Maybe. It's not my favorite of the year, but I saw it and I saw Adam McKay speak about it after, and I don't know. It's just the originality in that screenplay and how he took so many risks, and everyone's up in arms about the structure of it and everything, but I mean, at one point they're busting out Shakespeare. They're just doing so many creative little things in that film
that's true.
I don't know.
And
Could
hey,
be an upset.
it got a nomination,
Yep.
so it's got to be in the running.
Totally.
It deserves a nomination. I don't know if it deserves a win, but.
All right, let's move on here. Next category, Best Cinematography. One of my favorite categories of the year, actually.
Yeah.
Cold War, which the cinematography in that was crazy good. The Favorite, the cinematography is great. Never Look Away, Roma, A Star Is Born. You know what? While I am not a big fan of Roma, God, it's a beautiful film to look at.
And shot by the director and writer.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't. I mean, other than Soderbergh, Cuarón, I'm with you.
It's a gorgeous film.
You can't, and I think Roma has this bottled up.
All right, I'm going to go for that. I'll be honest. I didn't think A Star Is Born should have been nominated for Best Cinematography. Great film. One of my tops of the year. Is my 5th favorite film of the year, but I didn't think it should be.
I'm actually surprised Bohemian Rhapsody didn't get a nomination for.
I wouldn't
Tom
have thought
Siegel.
of that till you just said that. Because when I think about it, there's some really good cinematography in that.
It's a pretty amazing shot.
All right, let's move on here. Next one, Best Documentary Feature. And you know what? The only reason I want to talk about this is 2 glaring omissions. First of all, Free Solo, which is great, by the way. I finally got around to watching it. That's great. Hale County this evening, also really quite good. Better than I thought. Minding the Gap, which I must say I did not see. Our Fathers and Sons, which is quite good. RBG, which is a real hot one right now, which is also very good. This is my only look. I'm not going to complain that A Quiet Place didn't get a Best Picture nomination. But I saw the writing on the wall. How the fuck does Won't You Be My Neighbor not get, which is one of the most moving, powerful, insanely core of your humanity disrupting documentaries I have ever seen in my life. How does this not get how does it not win Best Documentary, let alone how does it not get nominated?
Again, you've got the Academy members and the people that are voting in this category are aging. They're older.
They all know Mr. Rogers.
I don't think they do.
What are you talking about? Of course they know Mr.
If
Rogers.
you didn't grow up watching Mr. Rogers and understand who the Land of Make-Believe is...
Then your kids did. And I'm telling you, these guys know. Mr. Rogers has been around since the 60s.
The Best Documentary category is always something that has to be issue-oriented. It has to be something that's serious. And I think, again, there is a prejudice against feel-good documentaries that'll do exactly what you say, because everyone thinks the Best Documentary should be some kind of exposure of some injustice or some issue that needs to be attacked. And to have a documentary that's really about the greatness of and the uplifting power of a man like Fred Rogers is probably something they said, nope.
But you know, it wasn't. That's not even what it was to me. It wasn't just about the uplifting power of Fred Rogers. To me, it was about exposing us to the true human capacity for goodness.
I know, but that's not hip. That's not cool. Nobody wants to hear that.
Because I remember I came out of that movie, and actually, I don't know if you had a chance to see Won't You Be My Neighbor, but
I did. I loved it. I cried. Oh my God. It was, of course. I was like gushing. It was amazing.
But it's about nice people.
Because I walked out of that, like I said coming out of the movie, I got on my Twitter account and I said, there are some movies that you come out of that make you want to be a better person. No. I said, there are some movies that make you come out and change the way you see the world. And then there are those very rare movies that change you because you saw it. I mean, that scene where Officer, I can't remember the name of the character in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but a black gay man, right, in that era. And talks to Fred Rogers, and he said, like, because Fred Rogers is this evangelical minister and all this kind of stuff, and he says there was so much racism at the time, and there's so much, and when all that came out, there's a scene in the movie, Robert, where, and I promise I'm not going to turn this into a full segment on Won't You Be My Neighbor, I promise, but there's a segment in the movie where on the show, Mr. Rogers says to the officer, he says, you know, I love you the way you are. And the actor, they're talking to the actor now, decades later, and he says, there's something about the way he said that in the show that it felt like he was really saying that to me. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, did you really mean that? And he said, Mr. Rogers, Fred put his arms around me and said, I've always loved you. You've just never always accepted it. And then it cuts back to this guy being interviewed, just weeping and crying about it. And I'm like, I'm a shitty person. Yeah. And I wanted to say to everybody here, y'all are shitty people compared to this man. It's like, this is the guy that could have stopped Thanos. But anyway, I'm just shocked.
Actually, I want to see that movie. Fred Rogers takes on Thanos. Let's make that fan film.
Are you kidding? In 5 minutes, Thanos will just voluntarily take off the glove and be a weeping pile of tears on the ground.
Can you imagine what Fred Rogers would have done with the Infinity Gauntlet?
Oh my God.
He solved every injustice in the universe with one snap.
There's this great meme that somebody put online. And it's got one box of the meme. It's got that scene from Ultron where everybody's standing around trying to lift Thor's hammer. And this got another scene, Mr. Rogers holding Mjolnir going, excuse me, young man, is this yours? It's like, that's just so perfect. All right.
Did you guys see Three Identical Strangers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, I don't know if that should have been nominated.
No, I'll be honest.
I loved it. I mean, how interesting was that film?
Crazy story.
Crazy.
I didn't even think about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's another one that's kind of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. You know, maybe for both They Shall Not Grow Old or for Three Identical Strangers or for Won't You Be My Neighbor, maybe there's some technical things that exclude.
Yeah, I mean, They Shall Not Grow Old is an astonishing achievement for history, not just documentary filmmaking, but all history.
I think it's going to go to RGB.
It's very possible because that is both incredibly excellent and incredibly timely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And they're making a feature, so it's just like, I feel like it's...
Well, it already came out, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody saw it,
Nobody saw it,
unfortunately.
yeah. I'm like,
all right, let's keep going here. What's next? And I believe this is our final category. Best visual, at least final category that we're covering, best visual effects. Avengers Infinity War, Christopher Robin, First Man, Ready Player One, Solo: A Star Wars Story. Tell you what, I got no problem with any of these. Because I never really thought about Christopher Robin until somebody mentioned that it could be a contender. And I stopped and thought, it's like, the visual effects in Christopher Robin, which you don't think of it as a visual effects film.
Right.
Some of the most, and I don't use this word often, perfect visual effects I have ever seen. I believe the Academy Award is going to go to Avengers Infinity War on this. I mean, it's incredibly excellent visual effects on top of a large scale amount of effects.
Yeah.
But also talking about effects that were just perfect, so perfect that most of the time you didn't even notice them. First Man. The visual effects in First Man are outstanding.
Oh, and then the final scene in IMAX, and they land on the moon.
Oh. But the brilliance of the effects in First Man, a movie that was not as good as I thought it should have been.
Right.
But the brilliance of the effects is that most of the time, I don't think the audience even knows they're looking at visual effects in a lot of those scenes. Yep. And that's just how good they are. So anyway, guys, there you have it. Those are your nominees for the 2019 Academy Awards. Of course, we're going to live stream us watching the Academy Awards when that comes around. Make sure you guys join. We did that last year. It was a lot of fun. Make sure you guys join us for that as well. So with that out of the way now, guys, let's get on to our main topics today. We're running really late, but that's fine. How do we select our main topics? Well, it's really rather simple. You guys select our main topics by emailing me your topics anytime to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, make sure you keep those emails to 90 words or less. With that said, Ashley, what's up first?
All right. The first email of the day is from an anonymous Patreon supporter. It says, "Morning, folks. I just saw that Edgar Wright's next film is set to be a horror film. With Get Out, Hereditary, and A Quiet Place, we've seen how great horror films can be with a great director, Jordan Peele, Ari Aster, and John Krasinski, respectively. Taking those three films into account, how good would you expect this movie to be? I'm just glad to finally get some new Edgar Wright. I can only rewatch Baby Driver so many times." I mean, I agree. I love Edgar Wright. I mean, what do you think, John?
I am an unabashed, huge Edgar Wright fan. And you can see the headline here that he is going to try one of these horror films. And it's a great observation. Look, Robert, we talked a couple of weeks ago about how we're always talking about the growth and the maturation of the comic book genre. We have seen an evolution now and a reemergence of the horror genre. And now a lot of directors are actually wanting to get on board and get into that stuff and challenge some of that stuff. Edgar Wright has one of the best minds for genre material, period. He's got, as a director, he's always thinking outside of the box. He's always doing weird, kooky things, whether it's something that you love him doing, or even if you don't like the results he's doing, he's trying weird things. And oh my God, I loved Baby Driver. Baby Driver's too good. And by the way, in this same story, he also talks about he's got his first draft of Baby Driver 2 done with a whole bunch of new characters and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to say that. Now, I'm going to tell you just a little personal story, though. One of my favorite things I've ever done. There are a few things when I talk about the favorite things I've done in my career doing this stuff. There was my Kevin Feige, James Gunn, Chris Pratt, when we had them come into this studio and do that stuff here. There was me getting to give an award to Stan Lee was a big thing. But truly, one of my favorite things I ever did was Edgar Wright had this movie called End of the World. That's where they... the name of the bar, the pub crawl movie, right? So him and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost came over, and I've met Edgar several times. I presented him an award too at the AMC Film Fanatic Award once. He was on my panel at Comic-Con one year. But I'm telling you, I got to come to one of his first LA screening, and here's a picture of this, to his first LA screening, and we did the first LA screening of End of the World. And I got to hang out with them backstage, but then come out in front of the audience after the film screened and moderate the Q&A with him and Simon and Nick for about 45 minutes. And they were awesome. It was one of the most fun. Now, Edgar looks a little different now these days. He's cut that hair a bit at this point. But it was one of my favorite things. One of the most genuine, nice, polite, wonderful guys. Back in the day, actually, I was telling Ashley this story earlier, way back in my movie blog days, when they were bringing Shaun of the Dead to North America for the first time, they actually emailed us and invited us to come to the first Shaun of the Dead in Toronto, Canada. And it's just some of the most down-to-earth, wonderful guys ever. But anyway, getting back to the story itself, I think this is great. And seeing the success that Jordan Peele has had getting into the genre, I think it's a good move for him. What do you think?
I can't wait. I mean, he's citing movies like Repulsion.
Yes.
Which is Roman Polanski's. First of all, people don't usually associate me with the horror genre, which is sort of weird.
But you are huge into horror.
Yeah, I produced a horror film. I love the horror genre. And, psychological horror is my favorite.
Yeah.
And they're talking about making it a psychological thriller. And if you haven't seen if you guys have not seen Roman Polanski's Repulsion, it is about one of the most beautiful women who's ever existed on the planet Earth, Catherine Deneuve, who you realize is completely insane. Like, after seeing The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, I loved Catherine Deneuve. I never thought anything would make me want to run away from her in terror. But talk about, she is a beautiful woman that hates men that can't deal with them, like their sexual advances, and she goes insane. And I want to see that movie. I want to see Edgar Wright take all the psychological horror, whether it's Rosemary's Baby, whatever. And whatever he's going to do, he's going to make the Baby Driver of psychological horror films. He's going to make a psychological horror film that's probably terror-filled and hard to watch, but totally enjoyable, and I can't wait.
As one of the world's most attractive men who's constantly dealing with the sexual advances of women, I can relate with her character a lot. You were mentioning a lot that you're a huge fan of Edgar Wright. What's some of your favorite Edgar Wright stuff?
I just love Hot Fuzz so much, and Shaun of the Dead. But yeah, those two are going to be my tops. We were talking about Scott Pilgrim. I love Edgar Wright, but Scott Pilgrim, I just like it's only okay for what I felt like it could have been.
Yeah, and you agree.
But
that's my least favorite Edgar Wright movie.
Yeah.
And I love Scott
that,
Pilgrim.
I know, it's a comic book adaptation. I just
All right.
I love the Cornetto trilogy, man. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and
come on.
At the End of the World. Is it The End of the World?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that film too.
All right. Let's move on to the next topic.
All right, this one is from Mike. Hey, John, big fan. Did you hear Ryan Reynolds say he and his team are working on Deadpool 3 and it will go in a different direction? What do you think this means? And are you supposed to hear that this movie may end up happening? Also, loved your rant on Leslie Jones the other day.
Well,
surprised.
First of all, speaking about guys we love around here, Ryan Reynolds, just like one of the good Canadian kid, one of the best guys in this business. Look, we have just all kind of believed, and I said on the Weekly Hero this week, it's a foregone conclusion. There is not going to be a Deadpool 3. Disney is not going to be in the business of doing an R-rated thing, regardless of whatever His High Lord and Majesty Bob Iger said. It's just not going to happen. So Ryan Reynolds, for those of you who don't know the story, he's in China right now promoting the release of Once Upon a Deadpool in China. And he's doing all sorts of these crazy things in China to promote it. But as a little tag-on end to this conversation, he mentions Deadpool 3. This is out of Variety. His team was already at work on Deadpool 3, he added, but didn't directly address whether it would be made with Chinese censors in mind. He did say, however, that in the third installment, they were looking to go in a completely different direction, saying that often they reboot or change a character maybe like 4 movies too late. Which is okay. What? Now, the first thing that comes to my mind about this comment is this. A lot of people and writers and producers will develop something that never has any chance of actually getting made. So I don't know if this is a situation where Ryan Reynolds is like, hey, look, nobody's officially told me they're pulling the plug on Deadpool, so I'm just going to move forward and develop a third. Or I don't know if this is a situation where he's had a conversation with Alan Horn or Bob Iger or somebody else at Disney that said, we're still open to it, put some together. So I don't know if this is wishful thinking on Ryan Reynolds' part. I don't know if this is Disney saying, hey, yeah, there is a chance, put something together and show us something. But I thought this was a property that was dead and in the buried. I thought this thing was buried. As dead as Deadpool, Who Cannot Die, can be. I would love this to happen, but Rob, I still don't believe it's going to happen. What do you make of Ryan Reynolds' comments?
Here's what I was thinking. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we've seen political thrillers, we've seen heist movies, we've seen comedies, but we haven't seen a parody.
True.
I think that if you made a Deadpool 3, and because it's Disney, Deadpool could be a balls to the wall PG-13 parody that you bring all of the characters from the MCU or anybody who wants to participate, and Deadpool shows up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and goes on a romp.
Could you do a PG-13 version of Deadpool kills
Look,
the MCU?
I think something like that. You don't have to have the bloodletting or the celebrating National Women's Day jokes or whatever.
Right.
You don't have to do that. But if you did just a complete parody with Deadpool, and he like you said, it's a totally different direction, but clearly a Deadpool movie with every MCU character, it could be hilarious.
Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there is a quite beloved kind of Elseworld story comic run that Marvel has done. They've done it twice. It was called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, where he literally goes through and kills every Marvel character you can possibly think of. Now, I've said before, Robert, before Deadpool came out, and before they made the official announcement that it would be rated R, I always said, look, you can do Deadpool PG-13. I made that argument. I stand by that argument. You can. But now that you've done Deadpool rated R, can you go back to a PG? See, to me, it would be more challenging. It would have been easier to start off Deadpool as a PG-13 than to go balls to the wall rated R and then reel that back in. That seems like it would be a little bit challenging to me.
I think that's why you go parody, where you don't have to tell more borderline X-rated jokes. You don't have to show the bloodletting. You turn it into, you make it a fish out of water story. You make it a crazy surrealistic journey through the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Deadpool, the whole premise could be like, how did I get here? Like, I used to be over there. Like, and the whole thing could be like he was living in the Fox X-Men universe.
You
And
could
somehow,
really go fourth wall breaking on this.
It could be the most fourth wall breaking, weird pop culture reflexivity. It could be really interesting. And I think that if they allowed it to happen, because they haven't done a parody, they've taken themselves.
Yeah.
One of the only things the Marvel Cinematic Universe could do that's totally different is to make fun of itself.
Well,
and who better than Deadpool?
Okay, the way you described it, sign me up. I never would have thought that possible. The way you describe it, completely sign me up. All right, let's move on to the next topic.
This one is from Not Chuck. As I'm writing this today, the Razzies were announced. What are your thoughts on the nominations? Do you feel it was too political this year?
Oh, you know what? For time, I forgot to tell you this. We omitted that topic. So actually, let's go on to the next topic. Sorry for that. Sorry for those of you who are lovers of the Razzies, but just for time, because we are running short, we've omitted that topic. All right.
All right. Skipping on to Muhammad M. Love or Hate Glass. Can we expect an Oscar nomination for James McAvoy's Out of the Park performance? Love your show. Been watching it since before the AMC days.
Oh, thank you so much. No.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. If I'm on the Academy, I didn't like Glass. I am still dumbfounded by James McAvoy's performance in it, though. I am still kind of in shock. And now you can say, oh, it's the shtick of having like 20 plus multiple personalities. It's not just the shtick of it. And yes, there's a shtick element to it. He pulls it off so freaking flawlessly. Yeah. I'm just in awe of what he did. And it's hard to top what he did in Split. He tops it in Glass. His performance is even better in Glass. Now look, it's always impossible to say this early in the year, could somebody legitimately get an Oscar nomination, because we haven't seen all the other performances yet. But I'll just tell you this. If I was a voting member of the Academy, and my partner here at the stream is a voting member of the Academy, so you know I'm going to get into her ear. Come next year, you got it. Look, I don't care whether you like Glass or not. And I didn't even like Glass. You have to give this some consideration, because I was just amazed by it.
Look,
but it won't. Make no mistake, it won't.
I agree with you. I mean, I think McAvoy is an incredible actor. He's one of our best actors. I mean, he's one of our best unsung actors. He was in a movie called Filth, right?
Oh, yes, he was.
He was in a movie called Filth. And
Which was very filthy, by the way.
It was very filthy, but he's incredible. I mean, the guy jumps from role to role to role. He's one of the best actors working today, and I think he absolutely should get consideration, but he will not.
Hey, YouTube video of the day that you guys got to look up. James McAvoy talking about Thundercats. Look up James McAvoy. He makes the most compelling argument for needing to make a Thundercats movie I have ever seen. And he wants to play Lion-O. It's one of the big things he's ever wanted. Check it out. It's awesome. Anyway, all right. What's next?
All right, this one is from Taiwan Moore. He writes, "Hello, John and Rob, if he's there, which he is. Hello.
I am.
With The Dark Phoenix being the last X-Men movie from Fox, will they end the story with a good, satisfying ending, or will it end on a cliffhanger and leave viewers in limbo, wondering what's going to happen next? Thanks, and may the filthy be with you."
This really all depends on... Look, we just talked about Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool. Did somebody at Marvel have a definitive conversation with him to let him know, hey, we're still figuring out what we want to do? Maybe we will do more with this X-Men universe, or maybe, as I think is the more likely scenario, they're going to reboot this universe. But if they have given them such indication that we haven't yet decided, I don't think you're going to get a cliffhanger per se, not like stay tuned for part 2, like nothing like that, but maybe there may be some doors left open that you could pursue another one if you wanted to. But I'll tell you what, I'm kind of expecting them to put a bow on this. I'm expecting them to wrap this movie up. I won't be surprised at all if they even kill off Magneto in it. Yeah, they shouldn't. It breaks timeline, but you know them, continuity, schmontinuity.
They kill somebody.
Well, yeah, I think we all know it's going to be Jennifer
Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. We all know it's going to be.
What's the over/under on that?
I'll give you 90. I'll set the line at 90% that they kill her off. But
By the halfway point, I'm sure.
I completely believe they're just going to really just tie this thought. I don't see any big open doors at the end.
Nope.
It's possible. Do you see it any differently?
No. Although
some riveting commentary there, Robert.
They should keep James McAvoy as Professor X, but they won't because, they can't. Look, I understand. They've got to reboot the whole universe and really make it theirs. Disney's not going to be like, well, we need the last vestiges of this Fox universe. No, when a new group of people comes in, they clean house.
Yeah, and it's good that they do.
Yeah,
that's the right
absolutely.
thing to do, but it does mean we're going to miss out on some good things. All right, guys, listen. We like to save some time here for some live questions, and we're going to do that right now. So let's go over to the live chat board. Ashley, what are people talking about?
Cool. The first one's from Sebastian. It says, "Do exhibitors re-release Oscar-nominated movies?"
Technically speaking, as Robert was pointing out to me a little bit, it's not the exhibitors that re-release them. Theaters can't choose to re-release theater. The studios do. And yes, sometimes they do. A lot of studios like to release their Oscar-contending movies near the end of the year so that they're already in theaters to take advantage of the Oscar buzz. But sometimes, I remember, what was the one that was shot over like 10 years?
Boyhood.
Boyhood, thank you. They did do a re-release of that, and sometimes they do because they want to take advantage of that Oscar buzz, but not all the time is certainly not a rule. All right, what's next?
All right, this one's from Spencer Main. Tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. The NFL purposely made a bad call so that the Rams could win and the NFL could expand the struggling LA market.
Well, if that were the case, it wouldn't have been a tie game that late in the game, and they wouldn't have allowed these conspiracy theories in sports. They wouldn't have let the Saints kick that field goal to take the lead with so little time left in the thing. So, no, it is the most egregiously missed call in NFL history because it was 3 penalties in 1, and it's inexcusable. There's just no explanation for it. But no, it was not an NFL.
Plus, you never know what's going to happen when that ball snapped. That means you'd have to have the entire team, each side, in on that conspiracy.
Yeah, everybody would have had, and by the way, coordinated play by play the entire game to go to that one moment, and it's like no, it didn't happen. All right, what's next?
All right, Zach Bartran says, compared to most superhero films, I was surprised to see the budget for Shazam was only 80 to 90 million, but the reasoning is smart. Brand new character and unsure of the performance, plus bigger profit margin.
Well, also because I think this is more than any other DCEU film, maybe even more than any MCU film. This is going to be about these characters.
Yeah.
It's going to be, they're going to focus on, you pointed this out the other day, and Ann points it out every day because Big is her all-time favorite movie, that they're going to focus on the big nature of this movie.
Right.
They're going to focus on the Tom Hanks big nature of this movie. And you saw that in the latest trailer. Yes, we saw a couple of shots of him flying through the skies with Mark Strong, but a lot of it is, hey, where's your finest beer? Like, I think we're going to get a lot more of that. So I'm not surprised, and you're right, it's a good movie because it means this is now a film that doesn't need to make $400 million to break even.
Yep.
This is a movie that's going to need to make about $275 to break even, and it's going to do that. It's going to do that. So, and I love it when studios reel in the budgets a little bit. I love seeing studios being fiscally responsible. So, are you surprised by it? Or?
No, not at all. I mean, it's like you said, it's a new character. Plus, this is character based. You watch these characters; they're sitting in a room talking. You don't have to have fight scenes to make this movie really enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what's next?
All right, James Welsh. When directors like Affleck for Argo and Cooper for Star is Born get nominated in most other award bodies, how do they miss on the Oscar?
See, this is a really confusing one to me because especially the Ben Affleck one. And here's why. because while Ben Affleck was winning all the awards for Best Director that year, he just didn't get nominated. He didn't get nominated for the Academy Award, despite winning all the other body awards for Best Director, including the Directors Guild of America. Here's why that was always confusing to me and still is to this day. You know who puts up the nominees for the Academy Awards Best Director category? Directors. DGA members who just a few weeks prior voted him Best Director of the Year, and yet these same people, and that's why it happens so utterly rarely. It happens so utterly rarely like this. So, look, mathematically, oddities will happen. And the fact of the matter is, out of the 5,000-year history of the Academy Awards, going back to the first Academy Awards on Noah's Ark, going back thousands of years,
they had a great home theater system on Noah's
they had a
Ark.
fabulous Blu-ray collection on there. The fact of the matter is, only 4 times in history has a movie won Best Picture where the director wasn't nominated for Best Director. So it is a mathematical anomaly. Mathematical anomalies will happen, but it is a head scratcher. No doubt it is a head scratcher. All right, what's next?
Spencer Main, First Man got snubbed in supporting actress and VFX.
Well, it did not get snubbed for VFX because it was nominated for Best VFX. Best Supporting Actress, I will say this. Claire Foy was the beating heart of that movie.
Oh, she was great.
Look, she wasn't going to win over Regina King regardless. So I see, just I only call something a snub if somebody didn't get nominated who I believe had a legit chance to win. I don't think Claire Foy was going to win, but I would have given her a nomination.
Yeah.
She was the best part of that movie, I thought. All right, what's next?
Alt Productions, any advice for an aspiring film critic? College.
I'll tell you this, Alt Productions. I tell people this all the time. I did a 2-hour video. It's going on 5 years ago or 6 years ago. I will refresh the video, make a new one, but like a 2-hour video called Getting Started. Just go on YouTube and search Getting Started John Campea. It'll be the first one that comes up. I give tons and tons and tons of stuff in there. So that's the best place to go and check that out. So go check that out and let me know if you found it helpful.
And read as much as you can, and read as much about film history and art history, and read as much literature and storytelling. Go back to Aristotle.
All right, what's next?
And go to college. Yes.
And go to college, yes.
DC Patience. We don't pick the ballroom, we just dance.
Spoken by the great Nicolas Cage in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man, when Aunt May is trying to take it outside. By the way, how great was Lily Tomlin as the voice of Aunt May?
That was a surprise. I had no idea she was in it.
Yeah.
As soon as I've loved Lily Tomlin my whole life.
Yeah. I said, take it outside. We don't pick the ballroom. We just dance. That was a great line.
I didn't even know it was Chris Pine, as the first
one. The original Spider-Man.
Yeah, I kept trying to make him Jake Johnson because I knew that he was in it, and I was like, this is not him. And then I just loved when Jake Johnson's character. I was like, this is Jake Johnson.
So many great lines in that movie.
So many good ones. Okay, so Spencer Main, also those Emily Blunt snubs.
Yeah, again, I don't know that she was going to win. So therefore, I'm not too terribly torn up about it, but yes, were I a voting member of the Academy in the actors branch, I would have put Emily Blunt for either Mary Poppins, honestly, or A Quiet Place in there. But it was a good stacked category. So yeah, there's that. All right, what's next?
James Welsh says, not one organization recognized Ashes for Best Song.
To me, this is the thing. Forget the fact that I love Deadpool 2. Take that out of it. Ashes is incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The only thing I can imagine is because a lot of music don't qualify for nomination a lot of times because of some technical reasons.
Right.
I am only left to imagine there must be a technical reason, because I honestly think Ashes could win Best Song. That song is amazing, and the video is one of the best videos ever, but I know this is an award for Best Video. But I thought it was great.
Composed for the film, though?
I think it was, but I don't know for sure. I don't know. That's a very good question. See, there could be a technical reason. All right, what's next?
Sebastian, come on, Roma? Oscars, now Golden Globes for critics.
Well, look, I didn't love Roma, but I ain't going to complain about it getting nominated because everybody else does. Everybody loves this film and is losing their minds for it. So even though it wasn't my cup of tea, I have no problems with this nomination because it is so widely recognized and so widely beloved.
Look, it's an astonishing piece of work, but like I've said to people, you try and get the people that watch us, people that watch The Weekly Hero, to go back and watch an Andrei Tarkovsky movie. That's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, what's next?
All right, Brian Esparza, so disappointed Black Panther, Rhapsody, Vice shouldn't have gotten Best Picture over better films like Quiet Place, Beale Street, First Reformed, and Hereditary.
Well, actually, and by the way, yeah, Hereditary is one that I thought could have gone on there. Oh, wait a second. Wait 1 second. I just thought of a major. Toni Collette was not nominated for.
Nope.
Why was that out of my mind for a second? Are you kidding me?
No, she isn't.
I am stunned by two things here. Number one, I am stunned that she was not nominated for that. Number two, I'm stunned that I didn't even think about that when I read over the list. Are you kidding me? Toni Collette was not nominated for Hereditary.
She got the same snub that Emily Blunt got for A Quiet Place. These are genre movies. They're not seen as the kind of realistic performances that normally get Oscar buzz, even though Toni Collette was incredible in Hereditary. But look what kind of movie it is.
You know what? Remember I just said a second ago, I won't call something a snub unless I thought that Toni Collette, you can make. I believe I will sit here and make an argument. She could have won this award. I'm flabbergasted that I didn't even pick up on that as we were going through the list. Blah 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 blah, and I didn't even. Holy shit! Toni Collette did not get nominated for Hereditary. I am aghast. I am absolutely aghast at that.
They are genreists over at the Academy.
But
I don't know.
Black Panther's in there now. You'd think Toni Collette could be too. You know,
yeah, but Black Panther's
you're
woke,
going on
man.
genre.
Hereditary ain't.
Toni Collette is one of the best actresses of our time. I think
She
Fantastic.
goes tremendously underrated.
Yeah, she had me since In Her Shoes.
Oh my god.
Incredible.
All right. But anyway, Hereditary maybe could make it. But this is the beautiful thing about the Academy Awards and the subjective film. Look, do I think Black Panther should be on there? No. Do I think Hereditary should be on there? Yeah, maybe. Do I think Rhapsody should be on there? I loved it, but no. Do I think Vice should be on there? No. But you know, I'm not going to complain about them being on there. Like, hey, my observation, I wouldn't put them on there, but hey, they're there. Okay, they're there. And it's tough. That's what makes it tough. You could expand the category to 20 nominees every year, and we're still going to have films that we think, man, maybe that one should have gotten in there. It is one of the great things about the Oscars is the fact that it is so almost controversial at times. But yeah, some of those films, I don't mind. First Reformed was a movie that I thought the performance was better than the movie itself. So I'm okay with First Reformed not being on there. I would have put Beale Street on there, sure. I definitely would have put A Quiet Place. But hey, man, there's always going to be films that get left off and films that maybe get included. And that's the beautiful thing about movies, man.
Absolutely.
All right, what's next?
All right, Ben Rayner says A Quiet Place is the Logan of 2018. No Academy Award love.
Yeah, none. I don't believe I can't remember all the technical categories, but I don't know that A Quiet Place got any Academy Award nominations.
It might have got sound.
Might have. That
Sound
would make
design,
sense.
yeah.
Logan did get something. Logan was the first comic book film to be nominated for Best Screenplay.
Yeah.
So it got some Academy Award nomination. All right, what's next?
Dim Sum Ophi says, I'm so glad Endgame was nominated before its release, but why documentary short?
Is that a joke? I think someone's making a joke.
No, or did it? Was there like an Endgame thing? I can't remember. I honestly, I can't. Let me just bring this up here quickly. Documentary short, because we didn't cover that.
No.
Oh, no. I know what he's talking about. Okay. The Endgame you're talking about, yes, Endgame did get nominated for Best Documentary. I remember this now. But it is not Endgame. It is Endgame. It is a totally different thing. It is not. It has nothing to do with the Avengers stuff. So don't worry. Yeah, it's something.
He was
completely
making
different.
a joke.
I hope he was. All right, what's next?
All right, by Odin Beard. Aladdin comes out in about 4 months, I believe. Think we will get our first trailer during the Super Bowl?
Well, technically speaking, we've already had our first trailer.
Yeah.
It was a tease for sure. But
Yeah.
technically speaking, we've had our first trailer. I don't see I don't see Disney spending a lot of money on Super Bowl trailers this year. So it might, but I'm going to guess.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
I think though that the actual Super Bowl matchup has now made the Super Bowl commercial placement that much more valuable.
Yeah, it's
Maybe.
true. All right, what's next?
The next one is A Quiet Place got no love, LOL.
Preaching to the choir, brother. Preaching to the choir. You know me, it's my favorite film of the year, but hey, whatever, it happens. All right, what's next?
All right, Sebastian, I finally looked up jobber definition. It is a person who does casual or occasional work. No offense, but that is what Batman and Superman are as of today.
I don't know about that. I mean, obviously Superman was the pivotal character of Justice League.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie, Justice League, is about we can't do this. I mean, we can hold everybody off, and maybe Superman can't do it alone, but we can't do this without Superman. And they really seem to make him the pivotal thing of the character. Moving forward, though, I mean, the way they're treating him on television, I think, is disgraceful. All the question marks surrounding Batman and stuff. Look, they certainly haven't made Batman a jobber. They haven't jobbed in anybody. But that might be the real definition of jobber, though, as we culturally understand it. That's not it, Sebastian. It's something completely different these days. All right, what's next?
I just wanted to say that I think Batman Begins should have been the first one that was ever nominated. But
there are people out there that think Batman Begins is the best of those Christopher Nolan films.
I am one of those people. I don't know. I just loved it.
Ray thinks so too. Ray agrees.
All right. So Dim Sum 05, except for the design awards, all of the other Black Panther noms feel empty. I predict it only has a chance of winning those two, if that.
I don't know. I mean, technically speaking, Black Panther was a hell of an achievement of a film. Like when you're going from sound design and costuming, production design, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of really good things that happened in there. So, I mean, yeah, it's got a shot at a couple. But again, I don't think it's got any shot at Best Picture. Again, I don't even think it should be nominated. But for the same reason, I don't think A Star Is Born or I think Green Book has a shot now because the director wasn't nominated for Best Director. Only 4 times in history it's gone against that, which means it's just to go to Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. Sure, there's a chance, but it's getting pretty small at this point. All right, what's next?
Keenan Color, maybe controversial, but no possible way Black Panther gets the nomination without outside politics and the Academy trying to appease their progressive base.
Look, I will say this. Never, ever, Keenan, my brother, my fellow film fan, never make excuses for why other people have different opinions than you. Okay? There's nothing more frustrating in movie fandom than that. There's nothing more frustrating than seeing somebody say, I like this movie, and then somebody saying, you only like that movie because, and then you make up an excuse for why somebody liked something that you didn't. Or you only didn't like that movie because of... That is beneath us as film fans, Keenan. Dude, look, there are a bunch of people out there that love Black Panther. I love Black Panther.
Me too.
I don't think it deserves a Best Picture nomination, but there are people who did. Never, it's sad when we, and I do it, you just did it, all of us do it, we all do it. But it's pretty sad when we sit there and just make excuses for why other people thought differently about a movie than we did. Do I think Black Panther deserves a Best Picture nomination despite the fact that I love it? No. But I'm not going to make excuses for why other people did feel it deserved a spot on there and put it up there. So we, as all film fans, we got to get beyond that. And we're all guilty of it. But we got to move beyond that, this whole thing of making excuses for why other people thought differently than we did, because it just doesn't serve us at all. Anyway, what's next?
Luke Woodward, why do only the Iron Man movies, not have secondary titles? It's just 1, 2, and 3. All of the other movies have names rather than numbers.
I don't know, but that's why I think they should be. I like numerical things in franchises. It just makes it easier. It just makes it better. It makes so much more sense. Now, look, and I don't mind. It's not either or. I don't mind Captain America 2, Winter Soldier. I don't mind Captain America 3, Civil War. But it makes it better because to this day, I have people asking me, so wait a minute, do I watch Civil War first or Winter Soldier first? It's just a good move. I think they should have the numbers in there.
You know, I like cool subtitles. You know,
but I don't think it's an either or.
Yeah, and I think with Iron Man, it's kind of like clanking. You know, if Iron Man had some highfalutin title, like Iron Man Celebrating Christmas, something instead of Iron Man 3, I think Iron Man demands numbers. Because look, every time an Iron Man movie comes out, Hot Toys, it's another armor, like Iron Man Mark 27 armor, Iron Man 4. So I like that.
I mean, you could have done Iron Man Shadow of the Mandarin or something like you could have put those. But I'm just saying you can do both. Why not have Captain America 2, Winter Soldier?
But Captain America was called the First Avenger.
Yes.
So it started out with the subtitle.
Sure, which is fine. So you go to the second one and say, okay, now Captain America 2.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah.
If I hope there's a volume 3.
Yeah, if it actually happens.
I couldn't agree more with you, John. I'm like, because, you know, every time I go to watch a movie or catch up or whatever, I have to literally look up the year that it was released because I'm like,
check the order.
I don't know what the hell the order is right now. Yeah, like, I just wish that it had both. That would be brilliant.
Yep, both and, not either or. What's next?
This one is from Best D14. I don't disagree with the cultural significance Black Panther had for the community that hasn't had much representation, but cultural significance should never be the argument as to what makes a movie great. Good movie, not great.
But again, Best, to you, good movie, not great. But you are okay. Here's what's listed in there. By the way, I agree. I've said on this thing before. The cultural significance is good and great and important, but that's not a replacement for actual best quality. I agree with that. But we should not make an assumption that just because I didn't think Black Panther was all that great, that means anybody who does thinks it's great only thinks it's great because it was culturally important. Now, I've said on the show that I've had an experience where a lot of times when I would debate the validity of a Black Panther getting a Best Picture nomination, usually they start off with the arguments about why it's an important film. And that's true, that happens. But just because that happens doesn't mean they don't also feel in their heart of hearts that it's good enough quality that it does deserve that place. So I agree. Importance of a film should not be a surrogate for quality of the film. One does not equal the other. Just because a movie's significant and important doesn't necessarily mean it's also of the highest quality. But nor does it exclude it from being considered amongst the highest of the highest quality. I do not consider it there, but others do. And I'm okay with that, and that's fine. So in principle, I agree. One should not be a substitute for the other, but I also believe the two are not mutually exclusive, and other people can feel both.
But also, I think what's really important when it comes to, say, the cultural significance of Black Panther is that the subject matter of Black Panther, the actual character and what was supposed to take place, was so all of the cultural significance was a natural part of the story that was being told. It just was. It wasn't like, we're going to tell you an issue-oriented comic book film. No, it was the fact that this is the normal way that this character should have been presented. Wakanda was not made an African nation because they wanted to make it an African nation. That's what it was in the comic books.
And they projected it as such.
And if Wakanda was that way and they portray it that way, what's I think the most important about that film is it existed and it was true to itself and true to its origins. Nobody was saying, we have to make this culturally significant. It was culturally significant because for the very first time, they took something that had this subject matter baked into it and writ it large. It was writ large on the big screen without having to say, look at how important this is. It was just matter-of-factly what it was, and that's what we hadn't seen before.
Yeah. So I agree. All right, what's next?
Sebastian, Black Panther to win Best Costume Design. Oscars aren't idiots.
Here's the thing, Sebastian. A lot of people may say that who haven't seen the other films nominated for Best Costume Design. I wholeheartedly support that nomination. I do. But I don't know that, if they don't give it to Black Panther, it is. Because there's some damn good costume work in a lot of these films. Some of the films we've already talked about today. So it is not a lock nor a foregone conclusion, nor will I argue if it doesn't win. I have no problem with it winning that category because the costuming is great. But
those they're so creative.
Yeah,
the use of
so
color
and original.
It's so good. I mean, I want to join the Dora Milaje just to wear. I mean, I don't think they'd let me in, but I would be one.
You just want to join the Dora Milaje and hang around Danny. All right, what's
too.
Next?
All right. KW Garrett 83. Documentary Guild is dead to me regarding Mr. Rogers' snub.
Again, I am left with no other explanation other than there has to be some kind of technical issue. I some kind of qualification issue or something. I don't get it.
It's not important. It's not. I'm telling you, it's not important enough of an issue for the Academy to deem it with an Oscar.
It's the most important issue. All right, what's next?
I agree.
C-Spice says, let's eat ketchup and eggs while watching the new Iron Spider movie at Cineplex that usually just streams episodes of Supergirl. John, I had to.
Yeah, one of the biggest disgusting things in the world to me is people who put ketchup on their eggs, and you know who you are. You filthy, filthy people. Yeah, that's one of I'll never get that, man. I mean, I totally respect anybody's food eating choices. I will respect your food eating choices, and you're right to have them. But I will never understand it. Do you put ketchup on your eggs?
No.
Oh, good.
No.
Good.
No,
Ray, you do? Yeah,
I used to do it all the time with the breakfast burrito.
I probably just deny that it's happening and close my eyes.
No.
When it happens. Oh, God. What about you, Ashley? Ketchup on eggs person?
I mean, I've done it before. I'm more of a Tapatio person. But
Oh,
you're
God.
a mayo guy, not on eggs, but...
I know. I would also not put mayo on eggs.
Yeah.
I am a mayo guy. I would not put... Hey, I have ketchup on hot dogs and French fries, but on eggs? Ugh. All right, what's next?
Luke Woodward, do you think any actors, directors, producers, etc. watch your show?
It's funny. I was just reading some messages of some actors or whatever that watched the show to these guys earlier about some messages I've got. It always shocks me and surprises me and astounds me when I find out this director watches our show or this studio guy watches our show or this actor watches our show. Blah. The biggest wake up call for me was when for Guardians of the Galaxy, and I still got this video up. I was at the press junket. I walked in to do an interview with Vin Diesel, and he's like, "How you doing, John?" It's like I had never met Vin Diesel, but I'm like, but they introduced who I was coming into the room, so I thought, oh, he's just being really nice and polite, and shook his hand. So I asked him the first question, right, and then halfway through answering the first question, he goes, and he looks at her. By the way, guys, this guy's show is amazing. What you do, and then he just went on for the entire rest of the interview talking about my show, and I'm just like, and I said to him, what did I say to him? I said, "This is my favorite interview of the day. Let's just keep going."
You know what would be great about Vin Diesel if you saw him now?
What's
he would
that?
look at you and say, "Justice for Han."
Nah, he'd say, "Thank you for supporting my decision to off Han." That's what he
You
would say
think
to
he's
me.
happy about Hobbs and Shaw? He wants justice for Han too.
Nah. Yeah.
Can you make that the question of the day, the ketchup on eggs? I just want to
Ray is asking me, for those of you who can't hear him, Ray is asking me to make that question of the day. I haven't got one put together, so I can't do it. But jump into the comments section, though, guys. Question of the day, ketchup on eggs, yes or no? You know the right thing to do. All right, what's next?
All right, Brian Esparza, pleasantly surprised by Defoe's nom, though great film.
I'm a little bit surprised by it, but he was wonderful in it. I mean, Willem Dafoe is always wonderful, but I will admit I was a little surprised by the nomination. Not overwhelmingly so, though.
No, I've been a Willem Dafoe fan since I saw the first movie I ever saw him in was Catherine Bigelow's first feature that she co-directed, a biker film called The Loveless.
I don't
that
think
he
I've seen
stars
that
in.
one.
No one has seen it. I saw it at the Seattle Film Festival. It's awesome. He's
right.
awesome.
What's next?
Tom says, I want to go see Viggo Mortensen in a big role again.
I mean, Viggo Mortensen just doesn't really feel the need to be in these big films anymore. He's picking roles that he really wants to do, and the ones he finds challenging, and the ones he thinks have some meaning and significance to them, and he's just earned that place in his career. So, I mean, I would too, but I don't care. I just love watching his work. I don't care if it's a big blockbuster or not. I love seeing him in movies like Green Book.
Plus, I mean, he has a big job overseeing Gondor.
Yeah, it takes a lot of his time. All right, what's next?
All right, this question is for Robert. Sebastian asks Robert, best creative accomplishments so far.
What would you consider as your best creative accomplishment so far?
Well, I mean, I have to go back to directing Free Enterprise with William Shatner.
Right.
But I'd like to think that, my best creative accomplishment is the thing I'm working on next.
Oh,
It is.
That's a good way to
It
look
really
at it.
is,
It's good
because
philosophy right
I
there.
never look back. Right now, I'm editing and I'm producing a low-budget film called Tango Shalom that I'm incredibly proud of, and it's probably the hardest thing I've done. And we've turned it into something really special. But I'm always looking for the next creative accomplishment as my best.
All right, what's next?
Adam Douglas asks, why not make the announcements as a primetime special?
I think because by the announcement, I'm assuming he's talking about the Academy Award nomination announcements. Because what's prime time where you live? Because the prime time where you live ain't necessarily prime time elsewhere. Yeah. And they want to drop the announcements at the beginning of the news cycle day. By the way, that means in Los Angeles, they drop at 5:30 in the morning in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. But that means when everybody wakes up, all the news coverage can now all day be the nomination. So they want to get it right at the top of the news cycle day, so it dominates the news cycle for the day. Because they do it at the prime time, then the next morning new news stories come out, and it doesn't get as much attention. So that's why they do it. All right, what's next?
Orange Hand wants to know, why does film marketing cost a lot? Is it too much?
Because it costs a lot to buy commercial time. It costs a hell of a lot of money to buy commercial time, to put trailers together in the first place, then to get screen time in front of other movies for in the trailer houses, and then not to mention billboards, magazine, online marketing, blah, blah. It costs an insane amount of money. There are movies, like, on average, $50 million on average probably for marketing campaigns.
And that's all over the world.
Yeah, and it's worldwide. I mean, you get somebody who pays $150, $200 million that they will do for, and they have done for Endgame. They will do for Endgame, $200 million marketing campaign. It's just, that's what it costs. It's not up to the studios to decide how much marketing costs.
Yeah.
It's up to the people renting out their advertising space. It's just that expensive, and it's a real thing. But they want to spread awareness. You want to get people out to your movie, you got to make sure they know about it. All right, what's next?
People might want to know, so when they do the budget breakdown, does that include marketing?
No, when you see, when you're looking around, you see the production cost of a movie is this. This is why I keep telling people, like somebody wrote to me, I said the 2016 lost Ghostbusters, lost money. I had this guy on my, even though I talk about this every single week.
Yeah.
I had this guy get in the comment section. Gosh, John, don't you do any research? The movie made $220 million and only cost like $160 million. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head, but only cost $160 million to make. It made money. It's not that hard to look up facts.
Look.
So I'm like, fact check, kid. Just for those of you who don't know. This is just a rough spitball, okay? There are things, there are differences, blah, blah, blah. But just as a rough spitball, here's a general rule of thumb if you want to figure out a movie made money. Number one, look at the total it made at the box office and minus 33%. Why? Because roughly speaking, the movie theaters, the places that actually show the movies, they keep roughly 1/3 of all the money that's made at the box office. They keep themselves. So if a movie made $300 million at the box office, that really means it made $200 after the theaters keep their cut. Then you look at the production cost of a movie, and depending on the movie, you got to add somewhere between $50 and $100 million on top of it. So if a movie says it cost $100 million to make, it didn't really cost $100 million. You got to add another $100 million on that for a $200 million movie. So now a movie that cost $100 million but made $300, hugely profitable. Actually, no. They actually made $200, and it actually cost them $200. That's how you got to look at it.
Well, like Hollywood has always said, a movie has to make 3 times its production budget to break even.
That's a good rule of thumb. It's not
Yeah.
always
Not always true.
Not always true.
But 3
that's a
times
good
its
rule of
production
thumb.
budget puts it at break even.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Okay, what's next?
Easy business. I'm upset says any plans on seeing replicas or Holmes and Watson?
Yes,
LOL.
I at some point when they get on Amazon or Google Play or something, I'm going to watch them both. But I got too many other things to do. I got to pick and choose with my time a little bit. All right, what's next?
Adam Douglas says, is Amy Adams the Meryl Streep of her generation?
Meryl Streep is the Meryl Streep of this generation because she, surprisingly, she didn't. I mean, she didn't deserve a nomination for Mary Poppins, but every year, like clockwork, she's still getting. What has she got? Like 732 Academy Award nominations now, roughly in that ballpark.
Well, you know.
But
yeah.
Amy Adams, I mean, yeah, she's in a movie. She gets nominated for an Academy Award. That's just how good she is. All right, what's next? She's got to start winning a couple, though.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Dim Sum 05, All the Stars isn't even the best song in Black Panther. It's Pray For Me. Sunflower, I think, was better than it. But Ashes not getting nominated is the real crime.
Dude, first of all, I agree with you about the Black Panther song. I thought Pray For Me, I'll tell you what, at least one day a week. See, I've got a Google Home in my bathroom. At least one day a week, when I get into my shower, I go, hey, Google, play Pray For Me. I don't know why. It's just a good. I also listen to, the Man of Steel theme when I get in there. Music that gets my blood pumping for the day.
It's funny. I listened to that on the train on the way in here today. It just popped up on my shuffle.
Oh,
It's like,
bum, bum. Are you kidding me? I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that damn music. I love the theme. But yeah,
great.
I don't get the Ashes snub. I just don't get it.
unless it was not composed
Again,
for the
yes,
film.
unless there's a technical reason, which
Yeah.
is all I'm left to assume at this point. All right, what's next?
Kyle B says, I don't believe Vice or Black Panther deserves a best pick nom, excuse me. I mean, come on, Vice barely has a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, again, it's one of those things. Just because certain people liked or didn't like it doesn't mean another group of people can't necessarily like or dislike it, and that's fine. But I am in agreement with you. I would not have Vice on the list. I enjoyed Vice, not nearly as much as I like Bohemian Rhapsody or Black Panther. I enjoyed Vice, but Best Picture, nah. The performances were incredible, but I don't give it a Best Picture nomination either. But that's just me. All right, what's next?
Adam Douglas, Captain Marvel, over under 775 million worldwide lifetime gross.
So impossible to say when we don't even know if the movie's any good. Like
Right.
the final number, like we can guess at opening weekend because that's all about the marketing. Opening weekend's all about the marketing. The grand total, though, is so dependent on what did people think about it? Like, how do you like it? At this point, I'll go slightly over 775. Like I said, I still think it'll be closer to Ant-Man than it will be to Black Panther. And so 700, 800, 900 million. I
I'm
could see
over.
it in that range.
I'm
and
you're
you're
too.
over. You think
I'm
it's going
over.
to join the
Absolutely.
$1 billion club.
100%. Maybe
All
not
right.
the $1 billion club, but it's over. If Venom can make $800 million, people are primed to see this movie. I think it's going to be big.
Yeah, I think it's going to be big too. Regardless, it's going to be big. All right, what's next?
All right, John Michael says, hey guys, just saw the list of 2019 Oscar noms. Besides sound editing, A Quiet Place didn't get much love. Not even Best Director. Why is that?
Look,
There's genreists. There's genreists.
I don't like me. I thought Quiet Place was the best movie of the year. For Krasinski not to get Best Director, much like Black Klansman was all about the direction. A Quiet Place was all about the direction.
I agree
It was
with
all
you.
about direction. So I'm not going to call a snub because I don't think he was going to win that category. So I won't call it a snub. But I will say I'm disappointed he wasn't on that list.
The Academy's prejudice against overtly genre movies. They're genreists. It was a monster movie about monsters that would come get you if you make noise. People are like, that's not important enough.
Yeah, well, all right.
Genreists.
All right, what's next?
Genres. Connor Diaz. Emily Blunt is so good in Sicario, Edge of Tomorrow, Looper, Mary Poppins, A Quiet Place. I hope she gets some love from this Academy one day. Thanks.
Oh, she will. Like she wasn't going to win this year anyway. So
Right.
like again, I'm not going to call a snub if I didn't think she was going to win. So she wasn't good. Believe you me, Emily Blunt. By the time she calls it a career, she's going to have one or two statues on her mantle.
She's
Make
an
no
amazing
mistake.
actress.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's incredible.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Brian Esparza, Blunt, Phoenix, and Hawk were all snubbed.
Would I have put Handsome Hawk on my list? Yes. Would I have been? I don't think I would have had Joaquin Phoenix on my list, but I wouldn't have had any problem if he was.
No.
But they were not snubbed. Look, there's nobody you can point to on that Best Actor nominee list that you can say clearly doesn't deserve to be there. And as long as it's debatable, it's not a snub. And it was I remember this one year, Tom Hanks didn't get a nomination. It was like, it's just that stacked of a year.
Right.
And I think it's just a stacked year, and he didn't get it. Oh well.
Also, it has to do a lot with the films people are in. You know, You Were Never Really Here. You Were Never Really Here? Lynn Ramsey's film. That's a brutal, again, a genre movie. And it's not going to
I don't know that I'd call You Were Never Really Here a genre
I
movie.
would absolutely call it. Look, it's a revenge thriller. I mean, it's done.
not a
It's an
genre
arty
film.
genre. It is. It's almost like Death Wish, in a way. It's just less. It's not a B movie. It's got A-list pretensions to
but
it.
it had so much heart. I mean, the time when he was laying on the kitchen floor. And
I know.
All right,
Highbrow genre film,
let's
but
keep
still.
going here.
Dim Sum 05. What movie deserved the Oscar nom more? Black Panther or Bohemian? I'm honestly surprised Bohemian got a nom before Spider-Verse.
All right, so if I'm saying that, look, I love both of those movies, but I wouldn't have had them on my Best Picture list, I think I would slide Black Panther in there before Bohemian Rhapsody. And do not take that as me casting a shade on Bohemian Rhapsody. I love that movie. I think that movie's great. I don't think either of them should be there. I definitely would put, look, the three ones that I said I don't think should be there: Vice, Bohemian Rhapsody, Black Panther. I would put Bohemian Rhapsody and Black Panther both above Vice for sure. If I had to pick just between these two, I'd probably slide in Black Panther above Bohemian. But they're both great. And obviously, I thought Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse was the third best movie of the year. I also would have made room for it myself. Which one would you put above the other, Black Panther or Bohemian?
Black Panther. I mean,
agree.
Bohemian, my whole thing about Best Pictures is they should be universal and timeless. And I think that Bohemian Rhapsody, while a beautifully made movie, you know, it's a musical biopic. And it was more of a feel-good movie and an emotional movie than it was a timeless examination of the human condition. Universal.
Right.
Like a Gandhi, to me, is a timeless classic.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Then are you going for Roma?
Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think Roma transcends time and space, and it's about so many different things, and you know, it has pretension there that I don't think, and that's not to slight Bohemian Rhapsody at all. People are like, oh, I love Bohemian. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what constitutes a Best Picture.
All right, what's next?
Preston Walden. Won't You Be My Neighbor? Oscar, no, snub.
Yeah, look, that and the Toni Collette one are the closest things to me about snubs for sure.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right, Bat Vigilante. Dark Knight isn't Oscar worthy, but Black Panther is unfair.
Nah, Bat, sorry, that's a tragic oversimplification of it. First of all, every year, if each movie goes against a different set of films every year. So like the movies that are up this year were not the movies that were up in the year. Also, don't forget, the year that Dark Knight came out, there was a different set of rules for the Oscars.
Right.
There were only 5 nomination spots. There were only 5. This year there were 8. Last year, I believe there was 9. They can be up to 10. So that is a real oversimplification of it. So you're comparing apples to spaceships.
Plus, the comic book movie wasn't where it is at now either.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Damn brilliant film.
I thought
Dark Knight.
so.
A lot of people consider it to be the greatest comic book movie of all time. But, I mean, it was a different set of circumstances. It had different competition, and there were a different number of Academy Award nomination spots. Look, I'll tell you right now, if there were only 5 nomination spots this year, Black Panther would not have been nominated. So it would have been in the same boat. And had there been 8 nomination spots the year Dark Knight came out, Dark Knight would have got a nomination. So it's a completely different set of circumstances. You can't compare them.
Totally agree.
All right, what's next?
All right, Hector says, now I know why you won't watch Schindler's List.
Oh my! So you watched it then? Yeah. I'm one of the greatest movies ever made. I cannot watch it again. It just destroys me. It is so impactful and powerful. It just destroys me. I just can't do it. Too hard.
I pardon you.
All right, let's go to our last question of the day.
Okay, Eric Saul says, please do not bring back the kid for Deadpool 3. Ruins Deadpool 2 for me, honestly. And John, I agree with your Ghostbusters rant yesterday, but hearing you yell was like hearing your parents argue. Haha.
With the kid in Deadpool 2, you know what? I did not like the kid in Deadpool 2 to start. I didn't like the kid to start. The kid grew on me as the movie progressed. The kid grew, he did. And God, I love that movie. For a little while, I wasn't even sure if I liked Deadpool 1 or Deadpool 2 more. I liked Deadpool 1 more. But I thought Deadpool 2 was great. And where I thought the kid was a hindrance to it at first, I eventually started to believe he was actually an addition to the movie.
You know, I didn't like Deadpool 2 very much when I saw it the first time.
Really?
I didn't like it. And I thought, I don't know what I was thinking. But now that I have the super duper whatever version and I've
Super
watched
duper
it,
cut?
I really, it's up there with Deadpool 1 for me now.
You know what? We're just at 10:30 right now. Let's take one last question. One last question for Marie.
All right. Marie says, thoughts on the 1990 film Jacob's Ladder? I found it fascinating but disturbing. Thanks.
Oh, both, yes.
Man, do I love that movie.
I know you love that movie.
Do you know it's been remade? There's a Jacob's Ladder remake that's in the can. There is.
I did not know that.
And why they...
Or did I know that?
First of all, Jacob's Ladder has some of the best, scariest, creepiest shit that's ever been put in a movie. Bruce Joel Rubin, who wrote Ghost and Brainstorm, wrote that script. It was considered one of the top 10 unproduced scripts in Hollywood during the 80s. Adrian Lyne knocked that shit out of the park. I do not like how they changed the ending. I won't talk about that. But the scene where Elizabeth Pena is grinding to Voulez-vous coucher avec moi, the scares in that movie are still some of the greatest, creepiest things I've ever seen in a film. Man, I love it.
All right, guys, that will do it for today's show. Listen, for all those you guys like Preston, Ben, Samuel, Brian, all the way down, whole bunch of you guys still had tons of questions still to come. Don't worry, I'm actually, my whole afternoon today is going to be doing companion videos. Your questions that you guys sent in will get addressed in a video today. So those look for those videos to go up on my channel a little bit later as I answer all the rest of the questions to come in. And a special thank you to all you guys who sent those questions in. Guys, I want to thank, of course, the one, the only, the Dora Milaje himself, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
First of all, I am not culturally appropriating the Dora Milaje. I just said I wanted to join him.
Honorary.
You can find me at Burnett RM on Twitter. You can find me at RM Burnett on Instagram, or find me on my channel, The Burnett Work, where I'm doing chats every day now too, but not when John's doing them. And that's on YouTube, or look at my website, theburnettwork.net, one word.
And, of course, Ashley Whalen. Ashley, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Ashley Whalen, ASHLEYYWHELAN, or on Twitter, AshAttack1.
A special thank you to fact checker Jonathan. For some reason, the ketchup eating on his eggs, Ray. Or thanks for doing that, guys. And a special thank you to you guys, all you guys who are here being a part of this. Special thanks to you guys who are our Patreon supporters. Don't forget the new podcast we have for our Patreon supporters, the John Campea Show Best of the Week with myself, Robert. And we're going to have Ashley back on again this week to talk about some of our favorite things this week. The next episode of that podcast comes on Friday. That'll do it for us, guys. My name's John Campea. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter simply at John Campea. And until next time, bye-bye.